Okay everybody, I just wanted to make a quick video explaining how we can get started with HTML, and I'm also going to talk about homework assignment number 2 a little bit. So let's get started. So I have Visual Studio Code installed on my computer already, and when I start a new project, I rarely open up Visual Studio Code. Let me show you how I tend to get started on a brand new project. Let's assume that we have some folder for schoolwork. And so there's our schoolwork folder. And in this folder, I may have several folders. One maybe for web development 1, which is this class, and maybe I have another one for public speaking. I like to kind of keep things organized. And I might even have a folder for spring 2022, and I'll have these two project folders there. So that way, in the summer or in the fall, I can have a brand new folder for that. So that's just a little organization for you. So let us jump into this class for this semester. So here we have it. And now I'm in my Web Dev 1 folder, and let's assume we are on week 1 or week 2. So week 1. Okay, so here we are in week 1, and maybe we have just different things going on, different labs, homework assignments, whatever the case may be. And now let's assume that I'm going to work on my week 1 homework assignment. I'm actually going to throw a little bit of week 2 in this as well, but let's just assume that we're going to work on our week 1 homework assignment. So I'm going to read the instructions, and it'll say something along the lines of be sure to name it, and then whatever the name of the homework assignment will be, and I'll just say week 1 homework. Okay, so there is my project folder for my week 1 homework assignment. I'm all ready to go. And like I said before, I'm not going to come here and play video games. I'm not going to come here and just launch Visual Studio Code. I rarely launch Visual Studio Code the way you saw it. I don't even know why it's on this tab. I have it there just for easy access, but I almost never launch Visual Studio Code that way. I mean, I guess I could, and then I can go to Open Folder, and then from there navigate to my schoolwork, navigate to this semester, navigate here, go to week 1, find that homework assignment, and I can open that folder. Sure, that'll work. And so now you can see I'm inside of this my name week 1 homework folder. But I will rarely, if ever, do that. Let's see how I normally would do it on a PC. It's a little bit different for Mac. On Mac, I just recommend you just drag your folder into Visual Studio Code. Let's say you have it in your Visual Studio Code in your taskbar. You'll just probably want to just drag this folder into the taskbar. Mac is a different environment. But on a PC, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this project folder. Here I am in this project folder. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to open with code. Now I have that option because when I installed Visual Studio Code, I was sure to check the boxes that are labeled in not the not the syllabus. I believe it's in the announcement. So check Blackboard. I put the installation process on Blackboard, so be sure to follow that. Check those boxes, and once you do, you'll be able to open this folder in Visual Studio Code, no problem. So as you can see, I have that same folder open. Excellent. So now I'm going to create my index file, and I'm going to do so by clicking on this button right here to create a new file, and I will call that index.html. Every brand new HTML file I create will always be index.html. I always want to have an index.html file in my root folder. Every once in a while I'll see students name the root folder index-html. That is not what we want. We want this to be named, whatever the homework assignment said. The file itself, that is what we want. And we wanted this to read index.html, not index-html, index.html. Okay, so if I have the HTML extension, by extension I mean what's after the dot there. So if I have the HTML extension, I can build my boilerplate quite easily. And by boilerplate, I mean, you know, all that stuff, all that HTML that we need to get started, right? We have to have doc type. I get a little help there. Ah, so it looks like Visual Studio Code helps me out a little bit there. And then obviously I need to have the HTML element, and I will need to have a head element. Inside the head element, I'll have a few elements. One of them will be the title. And as you can see, I'm just in Visual Studio Code, I'm just typing the word and it's building the opening and closing tag for me. So I have the opening title tag, I have the closing title tag, making the title element. And let's just take a look at that. This is the title. Okay, we'll take a look at that in a second. So I have my HTML element. I have my head element, and now let's get in my body element. And then all my work will go in here. Whatever the homework assignment would be. For example, we're doing forms for week 2, so I'll put my first form element, in there, and I will then put in all my inputs, whatever they may be. And this is a web development class. This is not a typing class. So I do highly recommend you use the tools. I like using these tools almost as if they are kind of training wheels. Um, so input text, let's see what that gives us. Oh, that's everything I need, isn't it? Input type text, then I can decide on what the name is going to be, I can decide on what the ID is going to be, but I will return to this later. Let's just comment that out. So let me highlight these lines, and actually, let me stop that for a second. I'm going to highlight these lines, but kind of lazily. As you can see, I have text highlighted on line 8 all the way to line 10, but I didn't fully take the time to highlight from start all the way to the end. I was just a little bit lazy about it. I kind of roughly grabbed those lines. With that selected, I'm going to hold Control and hit the question mark, and that will automatically give me my comments. On a Mac, it's Command question mark. On PC, it's Control question mark, and it will automatically take that code or take whatever text I have and put it into a comment. And if I want to uncomment it, same exact thing, Control question mark, and they'll go away. So let's just get rid of that right now. We don't really need it. I don't want to delete it. I want to return to this later. So comments are great when you don't really want to delete some code. Maybe you want to use it later, or maybe you want to look at it, um, and maybe it'll help you out later. Or sometimes you just want to leave a note, right? Like, don't forget to do X, Y, Z. So comments are perfect for that. Okay, so we'll return to that in a second, but I do want to return to building out the boilerplate, which is where we started. However, before we do that, I want to make sure that we have live server installed by Ritwick Day. If not, just type in live server and be sure to install it. You'll see a little install button just like this right next to it. Click on install, you'll install this extension, and you'll be able to launch your page in a server. Let's see why we want to launch in a server. So let us take a look at this title, and let's just double click on our index file. So here we are, and we can see this is the title. Very cool. And let us add some content to the page. Let's just throw an H1 in there, and the H1 will be, this is heading 1. Save. Go back to our page. I just hit Alt-Tab to navigate over to that pretty quickly. And I don't see my changes, so I have to hit refresh. So F5, refresh. And there I can see this is heading 1. This is the title. Let's put title in capital T. Oops, and save. Alt-Tab over. Oh, I don't see my change. Let's hit F5. Oh, there it is. There's my change. So I'm not really launching this page in a server, and doing so is going to help me in one major way. It's going to save me a lot of time. Let's close this. Come back to our page, and let's launch this in a server. Now there's several ways I can do that. I can click on, if I'm in my index HTML file, I can click on Go Live right here. I can right click the page, and I can open with live server, or I can right click here and open with live server, and also I can use a keyboard shortcut, Alt L, Alt O, and that's how I normally do it. But let's go ahead and click on Go Live right here, and boom, I have my page open. Now, when I Alt-Tab back over to my page, if I wanted to put this back to lowercase title, and maybe say this is heading 1, for example, make a little change here, and save, I hit Control S to save. You can tell I saved because, let me just make a little change here. So oops, there we go. I've made a change to the page, and we can see a white dot right there. That lets me know that I've made changes, but I haven't saved them yet. I'm going to hit Control S, and if you don't remember, you can see that keyboard shortcut right here, Control S. So Control S to save, and Alt Tab, or just select this. They're both about the same. We could see that this is heading 1 has updated, and title is now lowercase. So I no longer have to hit refresh. Let's actually go split screen here and just watch that happen. So this is heading 1. I want to make an H2 underneath this that reads this is heading 2. So I'm going to hold Shift and Alt, or Shift and Option on a Mac. Shift and Alt and the down arrow. Boom, just duplicated that line. Let's change the H1 to an H2. If you look, it changed H1 to H2 on both the opening and closing tag for me. Oh, I just hit save, and look at that, we're seeing it already. Let's hit 2, Control S to save. There we go. Control S to save, and it updated immediately. But let's go back to this. Let's duplicate that again. Shift Alt, down arrow. Now, if you look, when I update this opening tag, it'll automatically update the closing tag for me. Visual Studio Code does not do that on its own. It's doing that because of an extension. I've used several extensions that do this work. Right now I am using, I'm not even sure which one. Let's see. Auto, I believe it's what it's called. Auto name, auto tag, auto rename tag. Oh, that's the one I normally use. That's not the one I have installed now. Let's see which one I have installed now. There's many options. Let's see, live server, live share, prettier, Quokka. Huh, I'm not sure which one is doing it. Okay, I'm not sure which extension, but long story short, you can find an extension that, nope, that's not this one, something else. So I can't, it might be one of these actually that's doing it for me. But the auto rename tag I've used in the past, I'm very happy with it. So auto rename tag, auto close, no, we don't need auto close tag. It's the auto rename tag. I've used this. You can see 8.2 million people use it. 4 stars. I've never had a problem with it. Very happy with it. So I find that tool to be very useful. Again, this is web development class, not typing class. So I do highly encourage that you use the keyboard shortcuts. With that being said, I want to rebuild this page because in the beginning I typed out the doc type and I made the HTML element and then the head element and the body element. I want to use a tool that's going to do that work for me. So let me grab all this code, copy it, and I just wanted to have it copied on my clipboard, and I'm going to delete everything, kind of starting from scratch. When I go back over, you'll see there's really nothing here. Okay, so to build out the boilerplate, which is where all this started, I'm going to make my life much easier or simpler, one or the other, or maybe both. And I'm going to hit Shift 1 or the exclamation mark, and then just hit Enter. And that's going to build out everything that I need there. It's going to put up my doc type. It's going to add my HTML element with the language attribute, which is very useful. It's going to build the head element for me, automatically throw in a title that I'll have to rename, and some very useful meta tags. We're not going to worry about the meta tags today. We're just going to kind of skip over this for today, and we're going to stay focused mostly on content to get us started. So let's go ahead and name that. This is the title, or give it the title, give your document the title, whatever the homework said. I'm usually pretty descriptive of what you need to add as a title. And let's just come back into our content here and hit paste, and just to get everything back. So here we are, we have more information that we had before, or at least more HTML than we had before. And we're off to a good start. And all I really needed to do was hit exclamation mark, enter. Okay, so I'll leave these for now. And now let's move on to homework number 2, and let's talk about forms a little bit. Okay. So, when we create form elements, in this class, as we're getting started, we're not going to worry about the action or the method attribute. We're not even going to worry about those. So all you really need is just the form element, and we'll just place all of our form elements within that. What I then suggest you do is you take a look at the homework assignment and the specifications for it, and choose the correct input element or text area or whatever the case may be. Choose the correct HTML element for that job. So I believe the first one is for name. So first name, I believe, and then the next one's for last name. So let's just do that together. So this will be the name of this. We're just going to call it fname, which is fine. Oh, sorry, my mistake. Fname. Keep everything in a name attribute. Just keep everything lowercase. The ID, there you can use camel case. So here I'll go fname. Now fname or fname, either one is fine. I'm actually going to go with fname. Now, this input element needs a label, so let's go ahead and type in a label. And this label will be for, will be for this specific input element. So let's connect the for attribute to the inputs ID attribute. Come here, there we go. And the label for this will be first name. So I'm going to put the content of this element inside of the element in between its opening and closing tag. Excellent. So now this label is connected to this input element. Let's just take a look at that. Oh, why did I have to hit refresh? I must have disconnected something. Let's give something a try here. Let's just comment you out, save, go back. Oh, it's updating. I don't know why it didn't do that. I think it's because I changed the document considerably. I added a whole new doc type and everything. So a little glitch there. But we're back back to where we want to be. All right. So we have the first name and we have the input for it. This label is connected to this input element. Let me actually, I'm going to remove the label from the form and actually put it above the H1. It doesn't really belong here, but I just want to do this here for a second. And let's go back and take a look at the page. It might be hard to see, but I do not have this input element selected. Once I do, let's click into it. We could see that there's like a cursor there and there. I have it selected. Let me click on this label right here. Boom. Look at that. The label is connected to that input element. Let's kind of click somewhere else. I'm clicking over here now. Again, let's click right here on this label. Boom. You can see that the label selected this input. They are connected, and that's because the for attribute for this label is connected to the ID attribute of this input. Let's put this back where it belongs. I am going to put my cursor on this label attribute just anywhere. Hold Alt on a PC or Option on a Mac, and just hit the down arrow till I can put it back to where it was. Okay. So we have the label and we have the input, and I believe, I don't really remember off the top of my head, but I believe in the homework assignment the first name was above the actual label, and if not, no worries, then I'm just wrong here, and you can ignore this next part, but it's still useful anyway. I'm just going to go right ahead and put a line break right there. So now we have first name and then label. I think I want to do the same thing for the last name, so I'm going to copy these 3 lines, or roughly highlight these 3 lines, hold Shift Alt or Shift Option, and then hit the down arrow. Boom, and I've duplicated those 3 lines. Let's just update this. Instead of first name, it'll be last name. And so that makes this last name. That also makes this last name. Very cool. Let's take a look at our output here and pay close attention to what we have going on here. All right, so it looks like it put this on the same line. I'll need to be aware of that. So it looks like I just need another line break here. No problem. Shift Alt down arrow. Just Alt down arrow. There we go. Looking better. Excellent. And I'm going to basically leave it off for there. You know what? Let's just do one more. We have first name. We have last name. The next one is, if I'm not mistaken, is email. So let's just copy these lines down, Shift Alt down arrow. Let's call this email, and the label will also be email. So let's give this the name of also email, and the IDs need to match the 4. So let's also, looks like there's something wrong with my mouse. Okay, there we go. Email. Okay, now the type for this, I could use text, and that'll work, I guess. That's fine. All right, oops, let's add one more line break. Okay. And we're getting some help. It is giving me email. However, there is a better option than text. So let's take a look here at the MDN. We have a bunch of different form elements. On this page, you're going to see all the types that we can use. We can have buttons, checkboxes, colors, and the like. And right there, we can see email. A lot of what you need is written right here. However, if I middle click, open this up in a new tab, we can read a lot more about email. So remember, for this class, the MDN is your book. Everything that you need to know is all right here. Not only that, you can kind of play with the information that's on the MDN, and you can take a look at your output as you do it. I just switched it from 4 to 5, so you can really play with the HTML here, unlike most school books. So this is really, really good stuff. So we have our input elements. We can read about them, and another really cool thing about this is the tool that we use to build our HTML is connected to our book. So if I want to learn more about labels, I can just hover over it, read a little bit about labels, or click on the MDN reference, and it'll bring us to our book and tell us more about that element. I don't see where here, but if English is your second language and you would prefer to read this book in your native language, I know there is an option. I just don't see where it is right here. I have heard that the translations are very good by other students, so that option is available, and you can switch from, bright to dark. I recommend staying dark in the MDN and also in Visual Studio Code. If you're going to be looking at code for, hours on a time, be nice to your eyes. Be kind to your eyes. You don't want it to be too bright. Keep it dark. Be nice to your eyes. Okay, so the type that we're going to use, let's shift tab back over. What did we say that type was going to be again? But no, email, that's the one. All right, so again, I can read more about email. I can kind of play with the code a little bit, and once I understand how it's working, what we're going to do, I'm going to use that as a type. So type of email. And if I wanted to start from scratch, I can actually just type in input :email. If I know that's the one I want, hit enter and it'll build that out for me. So use the tools to help you build your HTML. Don't forget the shortcuts that we've learned today. !enter to build out your entire boilerplate. Let's actually do that one more time. I want to show you a quick little trick. I'm actually going to Control A, Control X to cut that. Keep that on my clipboard for right now. I'm gonna pretend I'm starting all over again. I'm going to hit !enter, and then I'm going to hit tab to go right into my title. I'm going to name my document, and then hit tab one more time, and boom, I'm right into typing my HTML. Very good stuff here. If I one last thing, one little tip. If I want to, and I normally do inside of my body, I'm a little old school in how I write my HTML. If I want to have a div element and give that div element a class of wrapper, if I want to do that in Visual Studio Code, I could do it just as you saw. Just type the word div, class equals wrapper. However, I'm really not going to do it that way. I am going to simply write dot wrapper, and that'll do the work for me. So there are a lot of shortcuts to learn in Visual Studio Code. In future videos that I post, I'll show you a few more. We don't have to worry about exactly what a class is today, but you can look that up as well. But I think I'll leave it there. So let me just kind of put this back, save, And I'm not going to upload this file anywhere. This is pretty simple. This is really just getting started with Visual Studio Code. I will make one more video after this. This one is close to 30 minutes, so it's gone on long enough. I'm going to make a quick video on how to zip up a folder um, to submit to Blackboard. I will make a quick video on how to do that for PC for anyone who may need to know how to do that as well. So, yep, that is it, and I guess I'll just see you in the next video. Take care.